This is genuinely insane as the Carolina Hurricanes have been linked to a former Norris winner in Erik Karlsson heading into this offseason, and this would change everything for the Hurricanes, not only going into next season, but the years to come. We're going to break down this player, how they can do it, how they can fit this under the cap, and everything you need to know later on in this episode. Before we get into that, if you're part of the 89.6% watching this and you're not subscribed yet, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. We'll be here all off season in the next season, giving you updates from all around the league. Well, that, Darius, we got to hop straight into the first topic today, where we did see Frank Schiavelli coming out with his top trade candidates heading into this offseason. Going into the list in the article, which will be linked down below, we see Erik Karlsson at number 7. The Penguins are looking to do a rebuild or a retool, and this is the perfect situation where a team, a contender, can come in and step in. And as we can see from Sylvia, they have been linked to the Carolina Hurricanes. They've shown interest in Karlsson this summer. They've been linked to him before. They do have Brett Burns that they're going to have to replace. He's 40 years old. Overall, what is your thoughts on Carolina? We know they're currently in the run. They're trying to come back down versus the Florida Panthers, but adding more offense going into this offseason would be huge. What is your thoughts on Karlsson possibly joining Carolina?
Well, it's not just adding offense. You would be doing that in adding Erik Karlsson, but if I can remember correctly, they were rumored to be in on Erik Karlsson back before he was traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins, right? They were one of the teams involved in the Erik Karlsson sweepstakes at the time, as they were called. But obviously, he would add offense. He would add another dynamic layer to this team. And like mentioned, and like you just brought up, Brett Burns, he's most likely not going to be returning. I think he might actually retire after this season, and he is a free agent. So he won't be returning to this team. You need another right shot defenseman. And if you were to play Erik Karlsson on your top pairing, I'll let you take that away a little bit, Mark, but I think that could be a really, really good dynamic for this team. So it's an interesting idea. I mean, he makes far too much. They would have to figure that out. But obviously, if Pittsburgh wants to move off Erik Karlsson, they want some decent assets in return. We need to keep that in mind, right? And they're going to eat some salary for you, right? So that's why they're going to want those, pretty good assets in return, because nobody's going to be able to take on Erik Karlsson at that cap hit. So the Penguins are going to eat some salary for you. They're going to be happy to do it. And I think if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, if they're retaining quite a bit, like a significant amount, it's definitely something you should take a look at, because with the dynamic and the way that this team is set up, I feel like he'd actually be a really good player for them.
Because, looking at the numbers, it doesn't look the flashiest. Minus 24. We know the Penguins struggled this year. They need new goaltending. They need to have a new approach going into next year. But the biggest thing with Karlsson is we've seen him be productive. 53 points on a struggling Pittsburgh team is still very good. It's a guy that can quarterback on a power play, come out and score you goals as well. Just going through, you can pause in your work. It's just 2 years removed from being a Norris winner with the San Jose Sharks. Karlsson is slightly overpaid. Let's be honest here at this point. We see his cap hit. It is a bit retained already, but moving him into this lineup would fit perfectly, in my opinion. Like you said, this is a guy that has shown flashes. We've seen him win a Norris 2 years ago. He can produce, but the best hockey we've seen him play was during the Four Nations, playing with Ekholm. So moving him into one of, and in my opinion, the best defensive defenseman on his left side would be a perfect fit. Now, looking at the team, you do need to add more bodies. There is still a lot of question marks on the team coming back, but with the roster, you just seen this is a team that still has 18 million in salary cap. We're going to see a huge jump before we get into some key guys that are either going to walk or need to be resigned. Looking at this roster with Erik Karlsson coming in, do you think this would be a perfect opportunity for him to finally come back, have a defensive guy to play work with, and kind of accelerate the offense on Carolina?
Absolutely. You see it right there, right? If you put him on the top pairing there with Slavin, this is a good opportunity for, a yin and yang opportunity for the defensive pairings of the Carolina Hurricanes, right? Like that would work perfectly. You have Karlsson who can go out, do his thing where he's maybe not necessarily able to do that in Pittsburgh right now, or he's still needed to be relied upon for the defensive part of the puck and or side of the ice. And, we know that he's not the best in terms of that. Obviously, he's a offensive juggernaut when he's really going. But the other thing I wanted to point out was how much he plays in Pittsburgh. He averages almost 24 minutes a night. So I don't think he's going to play that much in Carolina, because Carolina is a deeper team, obviously, and a Stanley Cup contender. Obviously, right now, it's still in the mix with the Florida Panthers in their series. But, he might play a little bit less. He can quarterback the power play. right? So I think that could be it's an interesting fit. I would like to see what the salary would look like, how much, retained salary there would be in a deal there. But I do like the fit. And again, like you said, it lengthens the lineup. Brett Burns is probably leaving after this season. They're probably not going to re-sign him. So they're going to need somebody in there who's a right shot. And I think Erik Karlsson, while, he is getting older, he's still relatively young. And I think that he does still have some seasons, good seasons left in him, but I think he's got to play for a team that is competitive.
And I mean, the big thing right now, the cap hit of 11.5, it is retained a bit by the Sharks. Looking at this, you can see a 10 mil cap hit. So if they can retain more, if you can get Erik Karlsson down to a tiny bit less, this would be ideal. But I mean, even with the 10 million cap hit, for just 2 seasons, you still have 18 to work with. We know the cap is going to continuously rise and rise and rise. This is going to hit 100 million at some point. This is a team that can go out and make this work, in my opinion. I mean, listen, there's going to be a draft capital going the other way. We know they got draft capital coming from the Stars in the Mikko Rantanen sweepstake that just felt like it was every team got him last season. But we know they got 2 extra firsts. They have 2 extra thirds. Looking at this, would you feel comfortable, Darius, before we get into the UFAs and RFAs on this team? Do you think you would be comfortable moving out maybe one of those firsts and thirds over the next couple seasons to kind of accelerate the timeline for this Carolina team? I mean, I shouldn't even say accelerate. They're in the conference finals right now, and they actually won a game which felt like it was never going to happen after the previous 15. But adding Karlsson is a big piece for this team. And would you move these draft capital for him?
This is a team that is in a win now mode. You have to be careful of your draft picks, of course, right? And you still need to draft and develop well to make sure that you replenish, your cupboard in the AHL. But this is a team that's in win now mode, right? Sebastian Aho, like these guys are not getting any younger. Svechnikov, he's in his, late 20s at this point. So these guys are not getting any younger. They're in win now mode. They're like a piece or two away. They can still come back against the Florida Panthers in this series, but they're still a piece or two away, I think. And adding Erik Karlsson is going to cost you a significant amount. Like I said, it's not just the player you're getting, who's a pretty good player and I think would do really well in the Carolina Hurricanes, but they're going to be retaining salary. That's going to come at a cost. So you're going to have to give up probably a first round pick. And I don't think Pittsburgh wants anything, excuse me, in terms of, players who can play right now. I'm sure they would love that, but they're restocking their lineup with that. And I think they're going to do some big things in free agency as well. But I think they want futures as well. Not only futures that they can use in terms of draft picks, but they can flip them, right? So I think that's kind of what they're looking for right now. So that's probably what the asking price is going to be, like a first round pick, maybe a little bit more, because again, the player himself, who has great value to the Hurricanes, I think right now, on top of the retained salary, it's going to cost you quite a bit. But this team is in win now mode. They should look at it.
And I mean, listen, just looking at some key players going into next offseason, we have a couple of guys. I mean, Jesper Fast is someone that maybe they bring back. Eric Robinson, Jack Roslovic should be back. We know on the back end, Brent Burns is someone, Dmitry Orlov, and Freddie Anderson has an extension that needs to come in a couple of years. But at the moment, they have a lot of their guys locked up in this Karlsson window. So you're not going to be worried on, hey, can we bring this player back? Yes, you do need to look at next season. I mean, right now, there's going to be a couple key guys. Logan Stankoven's a guy you need to sign after next year. But these are guys with the cap going up. You can make this work. I'm going to throw it to you at one more point, Darius. Looking at the team with the draft capital, would you feel comfortable taking on the full salary if that was the only way you could get Erik Karlsson?
No, they have to retain salary here. And I think Pittsburgh knows that they're going to have to retain salary, and that's part of the deal. I think they want more assets in return for retaining salary because I think the player with the season he just had, isn't as attractive. But if you can get him at a retained salary, then it is attractive because it can add a new dynamic to your team. So I think that retained salary has to be involved. You can't, if you're Carolina, you can't take on that much either. Just what that move specifically wouldn't make sense. Not that they can't take on the salary, just that move specifically. But I do think Pittsburgh knows, and I think Kyle Dubas knows, we're going to retain salary here. It's not going to be the whole thing. We're going to retain a significant amount, and we're going to get more assets in return for it.
But what you guys' thoughts on this? If you're watching, if you're a Penguins fan, would you move on from Karlsson for a first and a third, or would you want more coming back? If you're a fan of Carolina, would you do this deal? And do you think Erik Karlsson is the missing piece? Go down and leave a comment down below. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe. If you're part of the 89% and you enjoyed it and made it this far, why not go down and hit that free subscribe button? But I've been your host, Mark, my co-host, Darius, and take care.